one side. The person has not spoken. So we're going to be talking about some of the fact that it's not just about your quality. It's not just about what see you, what's their perception of you. Very critical. You know, she was talking about something at the beginning and she was like, you're coming for an interview and then you're not just properly dressed. I was even and then people will be putting on suit and tie. That's how it is. Because you never can tell. I might have an what did she study? That's how it starts. Preparedness. You need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. Because you don't know what will happen. You don't know what you're going to meet there. I'm looking all dressed like this because I don't know. Maybe I might walk with him later. That's the way it is. You need to be prepared. You know, when we started going for employability, any employability events, I will put on my tie, look well dressed, because you don't know who you're meeting. And that's it. All right, so these are just a couple of things that we're going to be talking about later on as we move on in the course of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Afolabi. Well spoken. Hello, everybody. My name is Pamela Enrique Loranda, and as earlier introduced, I'm a brand strategist. Today, we're here to talk about, personal branding. I like to say that personal branding is the way that you are perceived by other people. It could be your words, it could be your actions, it could be the way you dress, it could be the way you smell, like everyone has spoken, right? But really, why is personal branding important? It's just perception. And I like to say that as we are all here, we have a brand, like it or not. You may not have intentionally gone ahead to, put something down for yourself in terms of branding, but someone here has something to say about you, and that is perception. It is the way they look at you. It is your personal branding. Now, you need to take yourself seriously. I'm sure you're thinking, what's take yourself seriously? We're in a digital world. The face that we have right now, everything is digital. You're a tailor, you're a carpenter, you go to the office, you're a software engineer. Everything you do, you need to create a digital footprint for yourself, because that way you're recognizable, you're visible. I like to also say that branding is visibility. And honestly, the first step towards opportunity is visibility. So when people call your name, what do they say about you? When an opportunity comes up, are they still asking who's that person, or they are mentioning your name, right? And, there are different ways that you can brand yourself. You can use different platforms also. It could be LinkedIn for professionals. It could be TikTok. People on TikTok also brand themselves. It could be Facebook. It could be any platform. And here's the thing, you need consistency. Not that, okay, today I am, people can say, oh yes, I relate with this person. Right. Now, branding is not your logo. You may not need a business name, believe me. Branding is not your logo. It is your reputation. What people say when you're not in the room. What people say when your name comes up. How you are perceived by other people. Right? Now, I want everyone here to do an exercise for me. Go online and search your name. What comes up? Type your name on Google. What comes up? What digital footprint have you laid down for yourself? When people or HR professionals employ people, yes, they check your LinkedIn, but some of them go the extra mile to check, what is this person's digital footprint? Is your digital footprint about you bantering on Twitter? Now X. Is your digital footprint about you speaking or, contributing to meaningful conversations? You want to look at that also. What comes up when they search for my name? When someone mentions my name when I am not in the room, what do they say about me? And that's where dressing also comes in. That's where smelling good comes in. That's where emotional intelligence comes in, right? someone says something about you and you're like, oh, that person, no, 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 I do not like the way they dress. They can't represent me at a meeting. Oh, no, 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 they don't know when to speak or what to say. I must be in that meeting with this person. Are you able to represent your bosses? Are you able to represent your organization? Are you able to represent yourself? Right. So for everything that you do, branding is beyond strategy. Yes, you can strategize, but it is beyond that. It is an extra step ahead of strategy. You need to make conscious effort to see that whatever is being said about you, wherever you go, whatever you say, speaks brilliance. And they say the way you dress is the way they address you. For many Gen Zs, they do not believe in this, and I do not blame them, right? But it's the fact. If you show up as someone that is brilliant, without even speaking, people accord you respect already. If you show up as someone that is foolish, permit me to say, then they disregard you. So you that you have everything that you can show to the world, why don't you show up as what you embody? Why don't you speak as what you embody? Why don't you let your brilliance, go through you? Right. Now, I know that we are, in different fields here, but somewhere in between, you see someone that you're in the same field and they're doing better. You can do better than them. You have more results than them. You have more visibility than them, but somehow you're not being noticed, and that is because your personal brand is not strong enough. I said earlier, we all have personal brands. It's either it's poor or it's strong. What's that step you're taking to be recognizable? Thank you.
Thank you, Kwamilari. Good morning, everybody. Morning, everybody. I think we're okay. It's not afternoon yet. My name is Joshua Zubak is my name, and as Kwamilari was speaking, I was feeling bad that wow, what about those of us that we wear shorts to the office? What's going to happen to us now? I'm feeling like, there am I wearing just my Crocs and my shorts and my jeans to the office on Monday, and I'm like, wow, I need to come back for some new lessons. Anyway. And I was also feeling very intimidated when Abolabi was speaking that he was expected to see us wearing suits here. And I'm like, wow, I didn't wear my suit here. Oh, God, what has become of me? But anyway, I'll be speaking more and great insight, guys. Thank you so much for that. And, I'm tempted to also touch on, a few things that they've said around branding, dress the way you're to be addressed. And I think one of the things that I tell young people, and just to let you know, by default and by choice, I choose only to work with young people. Did you get that? Just not because of, yes, I've had the luxury of having worked in my early career, I worked in multinational companies and all of that. And so, yeah, very interesting career over the last 20 years. And, but by choice, I choose only to work with young people. And the reason is simple. I find that, speaking to people like yourselves, I know that there's some elderly people around us, but I find that it's easier to shape. Looking at everybody here, one of the things that you have going for you is that you have the opportunity to write the script of your tomorrow. And it is an opportunity that you're not going to have a second chance at. And what that simply means is that what you make of where you are right now, right? And again, just to mention, I consider myself a son of the soil of some sort because I was born in Bariga. I know the address where I was born. I was born at number 10 Olarewaju Street in Bariga. My entire education from nursery to master's and beyond was actually on University of Lagos. And this was the environment that we used to play in all this and all. So coming back around here to Makoko, I remember that HFP estate, Daniel Estate. Daniel Estate was built in 1991. I remember we had a party there when I was 9, so one of our classmates was there. But what's my point? My point is that where you are represents a golden opportunity for you to have the tomorrow that you want for yourself. Okay? Are we together?
And the sentiment that I bring to this conversation, like I said earlier on, is the fact that I'm always naturally, I think where I work right now, or the organization that I head right now, the oldest person is 36 years old, and he happens to be the CEO, right? And I happen to be his advisor, right? And at some point he was like, look, Oga Josh, don't stay outside, come inside and come and be another CEO. And so, of some sort, I just like, Godwin, how do I become CEO? How are you CEO? And I want to CEO, like, we figure it out. But the point is, I find that when a young person takes their life or takes the bull by the horn, and you come into conversations like this, right, and you take action, what happens is that those little drops of water of information here and there about branding, of course, I'm going to talk about what it is that we employers look out for, what we do. So when you've gone through the entire journey of, you've groomed yourself to be very well branded, and then you land that employment and you are working, you are already at that place, you've made it to the other side. What I'm going to be talking about is that what are the things that we as employers of labor have in store for you? And particularly, I was telling, I think it was Dolapo, I was saying Dolapo that the biggest item that occupies my calendar across the board, and again, because I have to wear multiple hats, I currently also serve as a lead consultant to the Ministry of Education, right? And we're trying to do some things with teachers in Nigeria. And the biggest item that I have on my diary is interviews. I do interviews perhaps maybe 8 hours, 9 hours out of 24 hours in a day. And so what that means is that I'm constantly looking for people, hiring people, raising people, mentoring people, and trying to build an organization that will endure and go beyond what I've started. And so the conversation I'm going to be having is around what are the things that we as business owners will put in place to ensure that, and I'll quickly say something, right? I really don't live, I live in the Gen Z world. Hello? And I say that because where the companies that I lead, we do hybrid. Even after COVID, long after COVID, we still do hybrid. And guess what? Attrition is zero. Attrition means people resigning. It is zero. Productivity. When our investors came on last year, they looked at us and were like, how are you guys, how can you be growing? Every EdTech organization in Nigeria is dying. How can you be posting year-on-year profits of 60, 70% year-on-year over the last 7 years? And the reason is simple. We pay attention to the people that make it happen. And who is that? Who is that? The staff. And when they were going to drop their big money of investment, we were like, naturally when you go to VC investment, naturally what happens? When people bring money from outside, what typically happens is that when they bring money from outside, and of course these guys are from outside, they will most of the time take up significant equity. What that means is that your company, they will take up significant equity. What that means is that your company, they will take up majority of the shares that you own the company because they are bringing in big money. But guess what? With the big money that they brought in, they couldn't displace more than 11% share. Right? And what that means is it is that same organization that has built that organization with the people of that organization that own the organization. And that's the reason why we pay a lot of attention to the people of the organization. I'm happy that I have operations people on the panel today. So essentially, that's what I'm going to be speaking about. And I just want to close by saying, you guys should have a very open mind. The sky is not your limit. I'm sure you've heard that. Those days they will tell you the sky is the limit. Thank God these days, when I was growing up in ISL, I wanted to be the first Nigerian on the moon. No kidding you, I'm not kidding, I'm not shitting around. And, I'll go to the library, I'll read everything about astronomy. But lo and behold, when I got to JST, you know what happened? Interesting story, real life story. Guess what happened when I got to JST, when I was about to write JSC? I was told that astronomy is not offered in this part of the world. Of course, it shattered my dream as a child, but the point I'm trying to make there is that we live in a world now that as a man thinketh, as far as you can see, you can be that thing. So I'm closing this section to say, open your mind, have a mind of limitless possibilities, and the sky is only going to be your starting point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sirs. Thank you so much, Mirs. Thank you so much. Let's jam our hands together for them once again. It's been a beautiful one, and they've been able to pass us through a lot of things about, work etiquette, the branding, and how to actually carry ourselves during workplace. God bless you, sirs. God bless you, Mirs. So we're moving to the question and answers. We have a couple of questions to ask them, and then they'll be able to give us some insights about the whole thing. So my first question is going to Mr. Joshua. Yeah, I want to ask questions about workplace etiquettes and fundamentals. So, can you tell us what are the everyday etiquette habits that can make the big difference in how an employee is perceived?
Okay, thank you. So, very quickly, how an employer is perceived in terms of etiquette is the value you bring to the team. One of the things that we tell a lot of our people who come to join us and the several organizations that I preside over is we are here to weaponize competency and kill mediocrity. Can we say that together? Weaponize competency and kill mediocrity. There's some things that by default, speaking about ethics, there's some things by default, when you're operating at that level, right, it kills mediocrity, right, in an organization. And what are those things? They are simple things. Ofalabi mentioned them. I mean, if we have a meeting for 9 o'clock, right, let me use our own terms, my Gen Z terms. You are wrong for coming at 9:05. Did you get that? If our meeting is 9 o'clock, you are wrong. You are wrong for coming at 9:05. In this day and age, most of our meetings are virtual, right? Even when we're in the office, right, we connect virtually, right? Ethic is log in 9:50. And let me extend this to even those of us who are attending interviews, right? I've seen interviews whereby I was on the interview because I had finished, like I said, I do most of my work is interviews these days. I had finished the previous interview and I was just on the call. And I was very impressed by a candidate who 10 minutes before the time, a clear 10 minutes before the time, right, joined the call, right, and was ready. And just before that call, because the fact that the candidate had joined, let's meet and greet. Turns out that he's a Man U fan, like a Man U fan. Oh, how are you? We talked about that. Oh, interesting. And no one. Do you understand? No one. Do you understand? There are some cases that you may not even have that app on your phone, right? And I'm saying phone because for those of us we old school guys, right, we tend to assume that everybody is going to join an interview on their laptop. That's not correct, right? 90% of the time, people will join on their phones. And so, if you're joining your phone, to the point of making, number one ethic, nothing trumps it in terms of your value system is punctuality. Punctuality in the context of be there, show up. Second ethic that we try to drive is that don't make up the numbers, right? And don't make up the numbers means that we encourage people to contribute. And in the course of doing that, people are driven to learn. So ethic number 2, learn. Right? Learn, unlearn, and what? We learn all the time. Right? I'm still learning. And I learn from young people a lot. Right? Simply because I don't write a line of code. But in the last 20 years, thereabout, because of the sectors I've worked, telco, fintech and all of that, I've had to work with people who write codes. And a lot of things that I've learned from them, right, has helped me to understand how to deliver on products. You understand? And so the second rule is always keep learning, right? And for you to learn, what's the major thing that you need to do? If you want to learn something, what should you do if you want to learn something? Can anybody tell us? Can anybody help? If you want to learn something, listen, yes, humble yourself, what else? Sorry? Listen, yes, humble yourself, yes, somebody else. Ask questions. Ask questions, right? They say in the place where I come from that the person that asks questions about the direction of the road cannot miss the road and will not rely, don't absolutely rely on Google Map, right? Ask questions. You're not likely to miss that road. When you get to that area, ask that woman by the side of the road that's selling the bolly because she has local knowledge of that road. Ask her. You can't miss the road with that woman. Get my point? So, learn with that woman. Get my point? So, learn. Number 3, integrity. Right? Integrity is simple. Let your yes be yes and your what? Simple. You know, I was reading something the other day about how bad it is that Nigeria distances with. You will turn left and then you turn left near that place. The person was drawing a comparison between how somebody, you know, how folks outside would describe and say, oh, you move 2 kilometers from this place and move to that place, and you know, as simple as you saying, I am 10 minutes away, right? Let's trust that you're 10 minutes away. Is that okay? Is that okay? Don't say I'm coming, and in reality, you guys can relate, Abby. I had a tailor years ago. The only time I probably would have been arrested for manslaughter was the encounter that I had with that tailor. I had a wedding. Some days to the wedding, I dropped the material. The tailor was even around this area that time. And on the 2 days before the event, his phone was switched off. A day before the event, couldn't find him. Eventually, when his phone started ringing, on the day of the event, I remember this very well because I was close to killing a human being. And unfortunately, I couldn't even meet him, right? So, don't be that tailor, okay? Is that okay? Don't be that tailor. As a matter of fact, if for any, and this is a very key point around integrity, if you are running late, the ethic is, I am sorry, I will be 15 minutes late. It puts you in a very, very good place in terms of integrity. And what's the final ethic, right? I mean, the list goes on. We talked about what's the first one that we said. We said punctuality. What's the second one? Sorry? Learning. Because what use is your 15 years experience that you don't know about what's happening today? Of what use is all that your big fancy certification that you cannot even understand what's happening in today's world? Learning. And what's the third one that we said? Integrity. Integrity, let your yes be what? And your no be what? So that if you're not going to be there on time, say, I'm not going to be on time. And the final thing, going back to the first point, weaponize competency. And I think somebody mentioned it here, right? Be very good at what you do. And I don't want us to say, to have that mindset of, oh, how can I be very good? Can I be better than so and so? No. You are a unique person. There's a unique dimension that you bring to that thing that you're doing. True or false? It's very unique to you. Nobody can see it the way you see it. And what you need to build on top of that is that unique to our point. Have a niche. Let's people be able to say, please, nobody is selling. You know, I watch Okoyeme the food blogger. How many of you guys are watching Okoyeme the food blogger? Yes. Let your amala be the ones that say that amala. Let your amala be the reason why, you know. Let me round up with this. The final point is competency. Weaponize competency. That's the ethic. But it's competency. Many years ago, I used to go to Akere. I was in the call center at Igomo for T-Mobile, and every weekend we used to send people to go and buy um, amala at Olaya. About a year ago, I found myself consulting for Bet Niger, the head office at Ujelegba. And I just said, let me go and look for Olaya. Do you understand? And guess what? Okay, you guys might not know Olaya. Maybe what's the name of that rice place at Bankolimo? Maybe that Bankolimo place. But the point I'm trying to make is that I got to Olaya. This was me finding myself in Olaya 20 years after. Guess what? Olaya's amala is still Olaya's. And I just had to take pictures, send it to my WhatsApp, my secondary school WhatsApp group, my economic WhatsApp group, that Olaya is still Olaya. Do you understand? Right? Weaponized competency. And so let me round up for that. Thank you.
A round of applause, please. A round of applause. So my question will be to Miss Pamela. And my question goes thus: how can an introverted person build a strong personal brand without overly being visible or vocal?
Thank you for the question. Where do I start from? Not many of us like to appear in front of people, right? But there are some things that we need to do because it is necessary. Now, I'm not saying that if you're introverted, it's impossible to have a personal brand. You can own a blog, you can write on LinkedIn with graphics, not necessarily your pictures, right? You can post on Facebook, you can do different things that doesn't necessarily have you putting your face out there. But there's something important. In branding, you cannot hide your name. So if you're not ready to put your name out there, you're not ready to have a strong brand. Your face, it's fine, right? But on the long run, you'd still be recognizable by your face, because there are many people out there who may also bear Olua Family in your Lord, that people around you will be able to put a face around the name. And then when you make a name for yourself, people start to look for you. It's not you putting yourself out there. They are searching for you, so you should be visible to them. But for a start, before you get used to the, visibility and everything, there are many things that you can do. You can have a Medium account and write articles, contribute. You can even have a podcast that you do not have to visibly, put your face there. You can write on LinkedIn. You can contribute in comment sections. You can collaborate with people. Just ensure that your voice is not silent. That's what we want to see. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. My question is to Mr. Afolabi. Yes, questions around about communication and collaborations, right? How can professionals communicate effectively and respectfully across?
While communicating, and there's a need for the receiver to be able to dissect and also interpret what has been communicated. So first thing first, you yourself as a communicator or whoever is going to be sending us information, you need to be able to put yourself in the shoes of the person you're sending the information to. I send this information to this person. How will this person actually take this particular thing? And then that starts with, let's even talk about greeting at the workplace. There are some workplaces where they use first name, while there are some workplaces where you have to go by Mr. or Miss or Mrs. anyone, right? There's a need for you to understand the preference of people or whoever you're going to be communicating with. Do we understand? You need to understand, what will this person prefer? Do you get? I always tell people the fact that I will walk up to my CEO and say, Adi, business communication. There are some things we need to understand. In every business communication, there's a place of respect. And this is when it comes to oral. Then let's talk about email communication. some of us are just so, we're not so good with email communication that when you're writing a mail, there's no dear. The straight thing is hello. Now listen, it depends on the culture of the organization. There are some organizations that are so informal, they are so open, and which boils down to understanding the mode of communication. Right? There are some organizations that when you're communicating via mail, there's a need for you to have DSR or DMR, and then you have your what's it called, your introduction, trust this name used to well and all like that, and then you start putting your information into it. But please put your information into it. But please know the difference or the grade level between yourself and the person you're communicating with, and it also goes a long way. It will also help you. When you're communicating with, let's say you're communicating with the head of department, there's a tone in which your mail should also come. It's also that there are different channels to communication. What is the best means to communicate this particular thing? Like Yorubas will say, if it is a matter that involves physical meeting, then use physical meeting. If it's a matter that involves on phone, then use phone. If it's a matter that involves sending a chat, then send a chat. And that is medium of communication. So we need to understand. And in every form of communication, please note, mutual respect is important. Mutual respect is key. Be it call, be it phone, be it chat, be it mail, respect the other party. It is very important. Do you understand? Respect the other party. And they will always say that respect is reciprocal. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Very simple. And you're going to avoid issues when it comes to communication. Now, when it has to do with conflict, they will say conflict is actually expected, and it's just a reality, right? Conflict at the workplace is actually good because it makes you understand people. It makes you understand people better. You get to know the good sides of people, you get to know the bad sides of people, and also it makes you understand people. It makes you understand people better. You get to know the good sides of people, you get to know the bad sides of people. And there are some negative conflicts. Negative conflict comes alongside with envy. Negative conflict actually has to do with strife. I don't want him to get there, or I don't want her to get there. So we need to understand the kind of conflict we're talking about. But if it has to do with the positive aspect of conflict, it is good. Just ensure that, just like what you said, have an open mind. Ensure that you are conflicting so that you can eventually agree. Hello? Ensure that the kind of conflict you're going into is to end up agreeing, and it is for the goals of the organization. Not a conflict that eventually leads to malice. No. You need to understand the different kinds of conflicts. Conflict at workplace is actually good. It's okay. I will fight with you, but not physical fight. You understand? I will disagree with you. But at the end of the day, the basic reason why we disagree with you is for us to be able to agree and for us to be able to achieve the goals of the organization. Now, in every form of conflict, please ensure it doesn't lead to anger. Management is important. It's important. And there's a thin line between conflict and anger and what's it called? There's this last one. There's a thin line between it. Do you understand? So we need to understand the fact that Don't, all forms of conflict or whatever disagreement you're going to have with people, it is not to destroy things, but rather to amend and to ensure we're able to achieve the organizational goals.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Let's join our hands together for those, sir. Let's jump. We are too cold, though. Is it the AC or what? Let's stand up a bit. Let's stand up a bit and shake it off, please. Let's stand up a bit. Yeah. Let's stand up. Let's stand up. Yes. So, let's sit back. Yeah. I just try and shake up the whole atmosphere. Anyways, please, if you have questions, you just write it and then just pass through me, so we can also give them to help us navigate through all of that part as well. You can just write the question in a paper and then pass through me here while we move on with the other questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my question goes to you, sir. How important are dress code and grooming to building credibility at work? You know, we are in this day and age where the Gen Z will tell you my dreadlocks does not affect how I work. What's that phone that they used to twist the hair and all that? Doesn't affect my work. My skill and my competence should show for it. Hold that thought. I'm going to add another question to it. When in a digital age where the do's and don'ts for personal phone use and in a digital age, what are the do's and don'ts for personal use of phones and social media during working hours? So for those of us, because I know sometimes I used to fault that too, using our phones, pressing our phones, trying to chat with that person that's not work related. So those are my two questions. Dress code, how does it affect credibility at work? And also the use of phones and social media during work hours.
All right, thank you for that question. Dress code. Well, it's in this new age, dress code is dependent on industry. One, it is dependent on organization. There are some organizations where you go to, your dreads are allowed. Dreadlocks does not determine, in all honesty, if not that Nigeria here, there are certain unnecessary rigidity that we bring to work. I have seen HR people, as a matter of fact, HR people who go to work in dreads. Okay? But that is not to say that every organization allows for that. What is peculiar to your own organization? All of these are industry and organization related. There are some organizations you go to, they have their uniforms. Currently, I work in the hospitality, and in the hospitality, for every department, there are uniforms that they put on. So when you come to work, you show up at work according to what your department requires. In the front office, for example, yes, you put on your shirt, you dress up, suit, ties, and all of that. It is what is expected of you. In the hospitality where I work, you are not allowed to have beards. Okay? The brand that we represent, you are not allowed to have beards. You are not allowed to do dreads. You are not allowed to tint your hair. You are not allowed to wear anklets and the likes. But in some other places, they are allowed. All right? So first things first, you need to understand the peculiarity of your organization. In some tech companies, it doesn't matter. In tech companies, you don't have to wear suit and shirt and ties and what have you. You could put on your jeans, your sneakers, your your polo top, and you're off to work. All right? So it depends on the organization where you work. However, understand what the organization requires. Now, it is not just so for those of you who work in corporate settings, you don't just show up at work, dress corporately only on Mondays, and then every other day you feel you could dress shabbily. No. You have a good, nice haircut, you dress properly. Somebody talked about body odor and the likes. Yes, personal grooming. It is very, very important. It's an aspect some of us don't pay attention to, especially for those of us who are guys. We don't pay attention to that part. We feel like, what is the essence? As a matter of fact, if you ask some people, how often do you bathe a day? They just tell you, once I bathe in the morning, and that's all, because I'm going out, because I'm going to work. When you come back in the evening, yes, expectedly, because you have sweat over the day, you come back in the evening, the first thing you do is to take a good shower. So you wash off that sweat. If you continue to keep them, yes, you begin to develop body odors. So be beyond just spraying perfumes. When you don't have a good bath and you just feel like, yes, I could use my deodorant, I could spray perfume, it doesn't help you. It's not going to work. You will just keep on accumulating and compounding those odors, and you feel like when you put on your sprays, at some point the spray would wear out. But then that odor, it becomes a part of your identity, and it is what we do not want. So at every point in time, you have to take it as a point of duty. Ensure that you have a good bath. Brush your teeth. Brush your mouth. Don't say good morning, and then the person you are telling good morning say, oh yes, it's a good morning, I will see you later. No. When you say good morning, let the person be able to stand in your front and say, oh, good morning, how are you today? All right, so it is part of grooming standards. It is part of personal grooming. For those of us who are guys, I know some of us before corporate, we just feel like it doesn't matter. It matters a lot. You cannot confidently hug somebody. You cannot confidently hug somebody. I have been on an interview session and somebody came in for interview, and at the point of that interview, I was like, God, let this interview just end. Yes, because you can't just open your mouth. You can't just talk. When you're also part of grooming, you're dressing. When you're going for an interview, now let us come back home. When you're going for an interview, because we are young people, some of us are just applying for jobs. When you're going for an interview, irrespective of the industry, irrespective of what they do, pay attention to your dressing. Dress corporately. Dress corporately. It could even be that you are going to get a job not even in the corporate environment, but then dress corporately. Your dress already gives you some points. It already gives you some mark. Now, also talking about when you're having virtual meetings, also be particular about the way you dress. There can be, sometimes you have camera errors and the likes. I have had virtual interviews where, when you're having the virtual interview, ensure you are the only person in the room. This is a personal advice to all of us. When you're having a virtual interview, ensure you are the only person in the room. Look at your environment before you put on your camera. Be sure that your environment is okay, it's camera friendly. I have been on an interview session where somebody was on an interview. Behind her, there were things that were hung that shouldn't be there. She was in her room, yes, but then there were some things on the background that were not appropriate. And at the same time, there were people, in the room, moving around behind her who were not appropriately dressed. This is a personal advice. We are young people, and I like it when I'm talking because I am also a young person. And like it is we, okay? It is we. So please let us pay attention to all of this. Very, very important. Now, what are the do's and the don'ts of using your mobile devices while at work? You are in a workspace. You have been employed to do your job 8 hours. Within the space of that 8 hours, probably you have 1 hour of break. Yes, of course, also depending on where you work. If you work in the bank, you are not expected to have your phone with you. As a matter of fact, when you're coming in, you're submitting your phone somewhere. There are certain places where you work in, you're not expected to be with your phones. You don't have to do WhatsApp chats while you don't use status. There are some employers, there are some supervisors who pay attention to that. While their staff are at work, they check on the things they do on their phone. Oh, you are at work, and within when I go to work, I don't post anything on my WhatsApp status. Once it is 8 a.m., you will not see me post anything on my WhatsApp status. Because yes, nobody is going to hold me for it, but it is a sign of, it is discipline. It shows that I am disciplined and I am responsible. At that time, I no longer own that time to myself. Somebody has paid for that time. I don't do WhatsApp status. Once it is 8 a.m., I could do it before 8 a.m., but the moment it is 8, I don't do that. Some of us connect our WhatsApps to our systems at work. I don't do it. Sometimes I admit, yes, you can connect it, but for me, it is distraction. Because it means at every point in time, while I'm supposed to be working, I am seeing something popping up on my system. It distracts me. So we shouldn't be doing those. We have to be responsible and be disciplined about them. So I think that answers the question. Thank you
very much, sir. A round of applause, please. A round of applause. Just a quick reminder, if you have questions, please see my co-anchor of this program. He's at the back. He's waving his hand. Please, if you have questions, please give him your questions. Thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Mr. Joshua. So my next question goes thus. How can employees show they take ownership of their roles and responsibilities? Let's hold that thought. I'm going to add another question to it. What are some ways to also participate actively and respectfully in meetings or team discussions? Let me buttress a bit about the first question I asked. I used to work in an organization whereby they like to micromanage, and then they don't give you the liberty to always express. Let's say there is a particular way of doing it, takes a longer route, but they want you to use that way, and we did. How can someone? What are the ways to participate actively and respectfully in meetings or team discussion? Thank you.
Thank you for that. Again, sorry, what's the name, sir? Like Albert said, a lot of these things also depends on the type of organization, right? So it's very important that first and foremost, you will have some organizations that they have already laid down processes, right? And flouting it under the excuse of no, I have my own way, right, may not be tenable. Do you understand, right? On the other hand, you could have organizations that are very more focused on the outcomes, that they are outcomes driven, right? So I think it's very important because there is no straight jacket answer to that situation. You need to respond based on what your environment allows you to, right? So I'll give you an example. Most of the organizations that I lead, right, we run what you call a KPI system. Now, even KPI system, which is key performance indicators, even a KPI system, many organizations, it runs as a legislation. It runs like law. And law is filled with letters. Letters is filled with steps that you must take and that you must not deviate, right? But in some organizations, the focus is on the end goal. If, for example, I say we want to have 50 customers from you. Let's use a sales environment, for example. If you want to have 50 customers, you're a salesperson, you understand? And the goal is we want to have 50 paying customers signed up on this platform every month. I'm sure there are probably a number of ways that you could achieve that, but it's important to the point I made earlier that if the organization already has certain standard procedures that you need to follow to acquire those numbers, you understand, it's important that you follow it. Whereas another organization will say, you know what, I really don't care, which sometimes gives room for things to be done unethically, right? So we need to strike that balance, because sometimes things can get very unethical if there's no governance structures that guides how things should run and all of that. So to answer the question, it's important that, number one, you understand what is obtainable in that organization, right? So that if the organization has laid down processes that they want you to follow, my brother, you have to follow it, right? Because not following it means you are contravening their own laid down processes, which is not acceptable. The other is, some organization will say, we don't really care how you go about it, right? As long as you produce the results, right? Whilst that is a good thing, you must also be careful that you are not getting that result in an unethical way. And when I say unethical way, who can give me an example? For example, can we share example very quickly so that it's not like we're just speaking on top of each other's heads? When we say unethical way, so for example, I say, bring me 1 billion naira cash deposit as a banker, right? The goal is clear, right? But if I want to go about it in an ethical way, an example of unethical is what? Sorry?
I can use what I have to get what I want. For example,
exactly. That's the example I actually wanted, right? You could use what you want, but is that ethical? Right? It's not ethical. So I don't know if that answers the question very well, right? It needs to be done based on what the organizations provide for, and also within ethical and moral standards, right, in achieving your objectives. What's the second question again?
So the second question is, what are some ways to participate actively and respectfully in meetings or team discussions?
I think it's a cultural thing, right? It's a cultural thing. And again, organizations vary, right? There's some organizations that you are a GM, but you are preparing for your quarterly performance report and you are attending night. I've seen organizations that you are a GM. A GM is a very, very senior person. But you are preparing for a quarterly performance review meeting, right? And you are attending night vigils. You know why they attend night vigils and things like that? Because they are just not sure of what they're going to encounter in that meeting. If you speak, problem. If you don't speak, problem, right? So again, it depends on the kind of organization, but the ideal environment that we all would love for everybody to enter into is a culture, an environment where there's a culture of inclusion and participation, right? So if, for example, you know that you have freedom to contribute, right? Based on the way the culture of the organization is, it's a free culture whereby people are able to come forward, right? It becomes easier to contribute, right? Whereas if you are in that organization where a GM is having night vigil because he wants to attend quarterly performance review meeting, and then you go to that meeting and say, Mr. MD, I don't think your shoe is correct, or I don't think you're not dressed properly, right? The situation is that will not be tenable, and the outcome will also not be tenable. So you also have to take into account what is the culture of that organization, right? The ideal place, to just wrap up with this, the ideal organization that we try to build in many cases is organizations that are inclusive, where people have the freedom to share. And most of the times, those organizations are the organizations that they are likely to generate ideas and innovation from the most unlikely sources. To your point earlier on, very early on in my career, working in the telco, just to wrap this up, I was the most junior person in the team. And it just so happens that, growing up in church, like you guys, right, I had been given the opportunity to, you know how it is in church now. You get one of the biggest training grounds anybody can ever have is church, right? And in church, I've been doing stuff in church, all the while. So, but I was the most junior person in this team. Big telco, one of the biggest telco. And, I was in the HR department. And so we had an event coming. And so what they now decided to do was that they said they should allow the very junior guys, right? Again, going to culture. That organization, their culture was that they actually, they have inclusiveness culture. They allow people to be involved. And then they said that, go and prepare a presentation. We're celebrating the 100 days of our chief human resource officer, and let only the junior guys run it. And there's a point I want to make over here. And I was just called. Keep in mind that it was a case of David who had been tending the sheep in the other place, and he had been killing lions. Nobody knew except David. And they now said, okay, come up with a presentation. And I came up with a presentation. It was, again, ideally, I'm the most junior. When I say junior, I mean junior, last level. And then I was given the opportunity to present. Guess what? That was it. The chief human resource that represented me in that organization, he saw that presentation, he listened to that presentation, and was like, wow, who is this guy? This was 06, 07. Before I knew what was happening, my career journey was accelerated higher than even the people that were senior to me. Before I knew what was happening, I was sitting in projects with the former Minister of Communication, its lead country, Accenture International, because what happened was that the guy said, this guy, there's something inside this guy. And that was how they continuously promoted to discover talent. So the point I'm making is that sometimes innovation and creativity, they come from the least expected sources. But you can only discover it if you run an organization that is inclusive, right? And the rest, like they say, is history, right? So I don't know if that answers the question.
Very well, sir. Thank you very much. A round of applause, please. A round of applause. So I just want to buttress one of the points one of our panelists made mention of about, when you are attending an interview online and then you have a lot of things, at your background and all. There is, in all these softwares we use, there is an option for a background. You can actually change your background. If you
Question from the audience, and then I'm just going to throw this to everyone. Anyone can answer this question, so not just be particular. So this person said, I am 2 weeks to finishing my university. So my question is, as an entry level, how can young job seekers stand out in an increasingly competitive job market, as against coming with experience readily and the place of learning on the job?
Okay, so I'll just use a personal experience so that a person can pick from this. So I can remember when I finished my BSc, right? I didn't have age on my side because I had come from my ND, and also the first thing I was thinking about was that, okay, I studied HR, and how do I get to do it? That there's no official and what a lot of organizations actually do is we count your postgraduate experience, right? So when I ask you how many years experience do you have, I'm not expecting you to give me your pre-graduate, right? I'm asking you for postgraduate, which is when you finish your NYC, how many years from that time till now? That is what organizations look out for. So I was like, so what do I do? How do I stand out? So what did I do? I started by going online. So that was when I got to realize Coursera, Udemy, right? And all these Microsoft platforms. I started taking some courses. So I started looking for practical courses that were in line with what I studied in school as an HR, like compensation and benefits, payroll administration, performance management. I started learning about them, the practical things about them, so that at least when I go for interviews, I have knowledge. Now, one thing we need to take note of is this. You know, I think someone mentioned about competency-based, right? Now, interviews have actually moved from what is to competency-based. And what is competency-based? Competency-based is, have you done it before? Tell us about how you did it. And that's why if you go for interviews, interviewers no longer ask you what is. They ask you, tell us about a time when you did something. How did you do that thing? What were the challenges you encountered? And going forward, what will you do differently? That is how interview questions actually come now. So they want to know if you really have practical knowledge about that thing. So me, I didn't have practical knowledge. But remember, I had classroom knowledge. So the practical knowledge I was able to give was based on what I was watching on YouTube, what I was learning on Coursera, what I was learning on Udemy, and all. And it really worked. Now, what else? I started looking out for some organizations. You know, I had some organizations listed out that I had interest in. Talk about Nestle, talk about Coca-Cola, and all like that. So, I went to some of this. I went to GT Bank, right? I wrote to them, and as at that time, they were really taking interns. So I went to GT Bank. A very good CV. I looked for someone who helped me proofread my CV, wrote it well, and all like that. So I submitted it to GT Bank. So I told them, I studied HRO, and there are some things I can really do. You need to blow your own. It's not easy. By the time they ask you questions also, you'll be able to answer because you're going to learn about those things. You know, you don't need to wait till when you join the company. And that's one of the mistakes we used to make. We wait till when we join organizations before we start building experience. It doesn't work like that. Imagine someone who, you've done your BS, it took about some years, and then you're already close to 30. There's no experience. Where will you get it from? And they'll be asking you for 5 years experience, 6 years experience. Where will you get it from? It is from what you learn online. The practical things you've been able to learn online. So when I got to the interview, you know, I met some people. We started talking. You know, I gave them everything I knew. I gave them those practical things that I had studied and all like that. And they were like, wow, okay. The next week I actually joined them. But I joined at the basis. At that time, I was getting older. I was in my 20s, above 25. Career was still, I was like, what will I do? But then I had to start doing something. So when I entered GT Bank, you know, started learning. The truth is this. I didn't wait, or I didn't just leave it to what I was doing. I was learning from everybody. Because you need to speed up. You see, the age is not on your side, and you need to be fast. So I was learning from everyone. When I finished from my own core, during break, I will go to a superior. Please, can you teach me this thing? How do I do this particular thing? Okay, how is this done? What do you use this particular thing from? And before you got to know it, I learned a lot of things. When I left GT Bank and I went to another company, an hospitality industry, when I got there also, I looked at everyone, I was like, where I'm going to is still very far, eh? But I need to really speed up because there's no time. Time doesn't wait for anybody. So what I did was, I gave up myself to take up even responsibilities beyond me, and responsibilities that were not in my KPIs. And you know what a lot of us do now? We do walk to rule. Walk to rule is, this is what you've defined that I should do, and I will do it based on what you've defined. Hi, can I tell you something? Workplace doesn't work like that. Talk about someone that my boss is willing to call on and be like, oh, I want someone who will help me take on this particular task and we see it to the end. Afolabi is there. I'm not that kind of employee that will tell you that this is the scope of my work. Oh. Because there's a goal in mind. Hello, I want to become the MD of the company. I'm just telling you my goal. And you can't become the MD of the company by just knowing about HR. You need to know about sales. You need to know about marketing. You need to know about other parts of the business. That is how we work. So you can't just confine yourself to the scope of that little thing that you know. You need to be ready. Become versatile. That's what we're talking about. Learn the necessary things, even beyond necessary things. There are times when you can just pick up a newspaper. There are times when myself and my MD will just talk. The man will just come up with some things in the newspaper and be like, just imagine what is going on. Me, I've gone to read it. So I have an idea of what it's talking about. When it's talking about revenue, companies that are making money, how they are making money, we can discuss. They are not relevant to my HR field now, but I need to know them. Why? Because I know where I'm going to. Do you understand? I hope I've been able to answer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's brilliantly answered. Oh, brilliantly answered. So, I have another question here.
Just a second. Just trying to add to that from Afolabi, and that was a brilliant insight by Afolabi.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I should.
Just so very briefly, for an entry level person, you are just okay. You are still in the university. You are about leaving the university, and you are wondering, how do I fit in? See, somebody say volunteer. Somebody say volunteer. Learn to volunteer. Some CVs we review, okay, you will not have experience. We know you are just coming from university. You are just passing out of the university. You've not had any experience before. But then, what have you done? We interviewed the lady and she was like, okay, this. By the time she was done, in less than 5 minutes, we were done with the interview. And we said, okay, yes, we are done. Thank you for coming around. And she was like, is that all? Yes, that is all. What do you want me to ask you? What experience do you have? But you have done 1, 2, 3 things that I have seen on your CV, and you've been able to talk about them. Some of us are here in church. Some of us, we are youth leaders in church. Please, do it well. It shows some level of that you can take up responsibilities. Please, somebody say volunteer again. The big things we have today, we got them from the little things we don't pay attention to. When you volunteer, you learn while volunteering. The biggest lessons you can ever get, you get them when you volunteer. I can tell you, oh, you do this, can I come and work for you? Even if it is peanuts, you will pay me. The guy will tell you, I don't have the peanuts to pay you. But when you tell the person, let me come and volunteer, let me come and work with you, let me come and do this thing for you, while you're doing it, you are learning. Where I have been to today is as a result of the volunteering work I have done in the past. I volunteer a lot, and while volunteering, I learn so much. And for each of those volunteering things, I put them on my CV. I volunteer, I do this, I do this, I do this. And the fact that you are volunteering, it gives your employer an impression about you. That, oh, this person is willing to give. This person is not just like a sponge that soaks, but this person is willing to give. So even while you are in the university, volunteer. Volunteer in your departmental leadership. Volunteer in your church, in your church, volunteer. In your department, volunteer. Put it on your CV. We know that you are just coming out of the university, you don't have any experience. But you have, even if it is as a WhatsApp administrator, do it. Because yes, even as a WhatsApp administrator, you are able to curtail the excesses of certain people. You are able to manage people. It is not easy to manage people. So again, volunteer. Thank you.
Volunteer.
Sorry, let me say something before I give you the mic. Thank you. By the time I finished school, I already had 2 experiences, right? I had 2 years of experience anchoring radio programs, not just 1, 2. I was the president of a writing community in school. All those was on my CV, right? And believe me when I say that, before I served, I got a job. That is 1 month after graduation in August. I had gotten a job by September, and it was based off, okay, I did my IT in LTV. I had experience in Jabu Radio for 2 years. I was, I had a community in school, a writing community. And straight out after school, the founder of One World Africa, a dyslexic community, reached out to me and said, "Oh, Pamilari, I came across your CV while talking to somebody, and I'd like you to work with me." And as young as I was, I finished school at 18. I was teaching teachers how to understand students. I was teaching elderly people how to understand things. Again, takes me back to my point. When opportunity comes around, where will it find you? What will you be doing? Will your name be mentioned? So you need to prepare. You need to be ready. Everyone has said great points, right? Take action, go online, look for experience, volunteer, so that, the best form of advertisement, I say, is word of mouth. When people have something good to say to you. In the last 4 years, the gigs I've gotten, the jobs I've gotten, they're from referrals. I rarely send my CV to anybody. So what are they able to say about you? You should build yourself up to that extent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really, nothing else really. I just want to encourage those of us who are still in university and we are aspiring to come into the favor markets and get employed. And these are the things that you need to take into account. One of the things that we as employers look out for is the things they've mentioned. I want to be able to see that you are taking initiative, right? I don't need to. I interviewed somebody recently, and the only thing that made us to employ that gentleman, the young man, is the Esusu cooperative that he organized in the university, right? Because Esusu is credit general corporation and trade and credit society. And he was not the most qualified, neither was he the most experienced, right? And I took a bet on him. And today, I'm very, very happy about how the guy is doing, right? So the encouragement is, like we've all said, volunteer, be visible, learn, make sure that you have a reputation. Reputation ties to character. Now we're talking integrity of personal rights. Let the integrity of what you do, let it be visible, let it be tangible so that people can reference you. Right? People can say, "Oh, look, I know Pamela, she can't miss it for you," that kind of stuff. So please, particularly for those of us who are in school and we're now at that stage that we're about to finish, please, even though you've not done much, like Olabi said, right, dive into Coursera. Those things are cheap, those things are free now, right? YouTube, all these things are free, and we just want to be able to see that as employers. We just want to be able to see that you put your hands on the plow, right? And that's the most important thing for us in considering you for that role. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's jam our hands together. They'll be able to give us more insights about the particular questions. And then I'll move on to another question here, which says, is it advisable to use perfume, ash or top notch to an interview? There are some interviewers that are allergic to it, or some will feel intimidated by the quality of your fragrance.
Okay. Again, thank you for the question. One, you want to ensure that whatever fragrance you're using doesn't make other people uncomfortable, right? When you walk into the room, you don't want people to start sneezing. You don't want them to cough. You don't want them to, react some kind of way, right? Secondly is that I like to say that when you're going outside, right? Some people are allergic to lavenders, they are allergic to vanilla, they are allergic to chocolate, right?
Oud smell.
Exactly. Oud smells are very strong, right? So you want to, should I say be moderate? But you also want to have charisma. So it's not just about how you smell. You want to smell good, yes. But you want to walk into the room and people recognize your presence, not because, oh, you're smelling good, not just because of that, but because of the class that you show, the class, the way you carry yourself, right? So it's fine to use perfumes. It's fine to smell good. Nobody will hold you to court, but be considerate of the people around. Yeah.
Awesome insights. And I think with all due respect, I query the thinking around that kind of motive, right? The motive of,
what you want to do when you go outside for an interview is to be what you want to sell is not the distraction that comes from things around you, right? And please, and you know, you'll be shocked. So, guys, you'll be shocked about the kind of motive in the minds of people when they want to do stuff. So because, again, you don't want the wrong thing to come off you. And so I query the motivation around your mindset of even wearing a perfume that you are thinking is going to make the prospective employer feel intimidated. I query it. I'm sorry. It's questionable. So please, let's prioritize properly. Do you understand? Let's prioritize properly. I mean, why are we talking about you wearing perfume that's going to, what, just be okay. Is that okay? Just be okay. Just be moderate. There's no need for you to be bringing distraction. And again, on top of that distraction, you're not talking rubbish in interview. And I'm speaking strictly and as an employer. And I hire, like I said, I hire every day. And so if what you are thinking is the offense that your perfume will bring to me, then there's a problem already. I query that mindset, right? And I know that we want to say a lot of nice things to you, but I think it's important to also throw this out, pull it out about that thinking. It's not the right thinking. What you want to do is to be humble, right? And the Bible talks about God resisting the proud and giving credence to the humble. You just want to be humble. Humble yourself in the mighty hand of the throne of the Lord. You understand? And just keep it easy. Don't come off as somebody who wants to be conspicuous. Rather, let the words of your mouth be the ones that will edify. The Bible says, let your words be seasoned with grace. And that is what it is that will sell you. Again,
I am an health worker that is just diving into tech, software development. So how am I supposed to go about my personal branding? Should I just stick to one, or can I combine the two?
Again, thank you for the question. Did you hear a lot of things? Okay, so we have health tech. Who says you can't combine the two? Who says you can't create, softwares that help the health industry to, perform better? Who says you can't write, codes or articles about health tech and how you want the industry to be better? Again, you need to think critically before deciding on your niche, right? Who are your target audience? And how you recognize your target audience is the impact that you want to make. What is your goal? Is your goal just to write? Is your goal to impact? Is your goal just to be out there? You want to think about that. So first things first, have a rethink on why you want to do this. Why do you want to build a personal brand? Who do you want to build this for? Definitely yourself. What do you gain by building a personal brand, and how do you make it strong for yourself? But there's no law that says that you cannot be in health tech or contribute to health tech. Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you for that, Larry. In 2000, I was leading a team in eHealth Africa. eHealth Africa is an NGO funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And, I remember going in there, I had zero knowledge about public health. Zero. Back in 2017. And to her point, when COVID broke, a solution that we have been building for public health and that we had deployed for the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, all of a sudden, that solution became what was now taken up and repurposed, right, to deploy COVID equipment and all those things to the last mile. And why did I share that story? It was a combination of health and technology that achieved that objective, right? So for the person who is in here, who is talking about your background is in health, but you want to go into coding, you are in a good place, you're in the right place, right? Technology will always amplify what you have, right? Being a coder, going to code, learning to code with your health background is already a niche. Did you get that? Whoever asked that question, your health background and then you being able to now code separates you from the pack. That combination is a niche, and I need to say that very, very clearly, right? Because, I mean, these days we're hiring people who have health backgrounds, right, who are able to understand what kind of product should we build. Hello? I'm looking for people who have health backgrounds who can actively make contributions into products for health. Who is that person? You. That's you. So your understanding of how to create code with your health background is already a very strong value proposition for you. So I want to encourage you, please pursue it to the end. It's a health tech play, right? It's no longer health and tech. There's no separation, right? Again, the common denominator in everything we do in this age is technology, right? Whether you're into adire making or you're into, whatever it's coleslaw making, the most important thing, you want to be able to set up your ads on Meta, on Instagram, true or false. There's a science to setting up ads. Hello? Right? For those your nice necklaces that you make, there is a science to setting. You have to target your audience. You have to know how to do target audience. You have some people now that are making money from target marketing. Have you? Do you understand? How do I know? I do this every day. All of a sudden, I find myself involved in setting up ads, and you say, okay, we want to reach this page, reach the last place. But you can imagine you then being able to actually also write some codes. Because there's actually a part of that interface whereby if you're able to plug in some coding, it gives you more precise outcomes. Hello? Right? So your health tech combination is a very, very good place to play.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, Mrs. Lapula.
I'd like to add something to what the question, what the answers have been given. Okay, maybe I should say from HR part, I've recruited somebody that is into accounting. She studied accounting at school. The first time I met her, we needed like a cost accountant, just a fresh graduate. So we took her in to the company and she did what we asked her to do. So, but along the line, the owner of the business wanted an inventory officer. So we trained her to become an inventory officer because the owner of the business could not afford one and was willing to train. So where you also work matter. It's not just getting a job. You must have career goals. So she did have that as her own goal, but like, I'm not doing so much, so why can't I learn that? As I'm talking to you, she left. She can bear me witness because they both work together now. So when in January, an organization needed an inventory officer, and I recommended her. So we poached her from where she was to the new place. So something happened, and they felt, oh, this. But while she was there, she started learning coding on how to do inventory using system. Nobody sent her, but it was just a new love she developed by herself. Her present place of work, that Abby, you can give them if I'm lying. The new place of work that she is now, she recruited her. She also took her from the place we took her. She took her to her own organization as new inventory officer. She gave the company the software she developed for inventory. And that's what they are using presently. Is that not what you are using in your organization? And the organization said, you might not sell to us, but we will get somebody, maybe another system engineer, to help you, a software engineer that you can work hand in hand. We will build it together for you. So she is not just an employee in that place, but she has also sold her business to the place that she's working. Now, the organization is willing to pay after 2 or 3 months of trial, using it to control, to change, to make changes, and to develop. So we are not limited, and every employer knows that I'm not just going to employ. Everybody's selling one thing or the other because the money they're even paying you is not going to be enough. So you must have other streams of income, not just sitting down and saying, oh, this 70,000 naira is enough for me. By the time you step out of here, 1 carton of Indomie is 20-something thousand naira. You put transport into it, it's not enough to do. So you must have streams of income. I like people that have personal, that are on their own. want to have personal development. So you can't stay in an organization. I've met owner of business that said, oh, I have this loyal staff. He has been here 7 years. I said, okay, ma, how much are you paying? When I heard the amount she was paying, I said, it's not because the person is loyal, I want to sit. It's because the person has not developed him or herself. So the fear of, if I live here, where will I go? Where will I fit? Because your mates have left you behind. People have gone ahead of you. So please, even if you are employed, I don't know how many of us are following Diary of a Nigerian Girl, Ife. She has told us so many times how she was a receptionist. From being a receptionist, she used her brain, and the owner of the business was even the one that recommended her to another friend of ours, and that was how she moved into oil and gas. From there, she's now selling her skin products. So please don't just say, oh, I want to be in the office. Don't be in the office, because people that sit in the office does not make plenty money. Everybody is a salesperson. So that position is not good enough for you. Think of something else. So if you are doing coding, there will be somebody else that will buy that idea, even if the organization is not buying it. And the world has even gone. We'll see 9 years old, 7 years old people, 7 years old students that are even doing what you are supposed to be doing. So don't give up. Thank you.
So I want to urge in that company. She was like, oh, fine, let me concentrate fully on this app and it will turn out to something. When she came to the organization she is currently, I was even the one that recommended. I said, sir, this lady has something that I think will be beneficial in terms of the inventory and the sales that we are doing. Lo and behold, she projected it. And the IT guy was like, oh, this is good. However, this needs to be fine-tuned so that it can meet up with the current demand of how that app should be in the society. And she doesn't have that experience, as in she didn't know about those things that the IT person brought up. But by so projecting it and making it open to everybody, she was able to put in some things that she missed out, or she didn't even remember that it ought to come into that app. So what am I saying in essence is that don't be shy with wherever stage at which you are in whatever you are doing. Talk to someone else. Someone else might have a better experience on how you can bring that thing into life and make it to yield more fruits. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, sister. That's a very brilliant one and a great insight and a perfect example as that. Yeah, I'll be going to. Does any other person have questions? So, okay, if you have, please, if you would like to discuss about it, but while I ask about this other question from here. Here, the question says, with rapid technological advancements, how can individual cultivate adaptability and continuous learning to remain competitive in the job market? Okay. With rapid technological advancements, how can individuals cultivate adaptability and continuous learning to remain competitive in the job market?
Continuous learning. Okay. Continuous learning. That's it. That's the shortest answer. Continuous learning. Whatever it is you're doing, don't bask in the glory of what you have achieved 5 years ago. Don't stay there. You understand? Try to continuously update yourself, you understand, with relevant skill sets. So it's not just a case of you just taking up some random stuff, right? In the world that we're living today, there's so many things that can be very distracting, right? But you need to understand, okay, this is where this particular thing I'm doing is. I just talked about you as an Ajire person, knowing how to set up your ads on Meta. Now, I get a feeling that a lot of us are not able to relate with that. And that's because many of us just look at Instagram and Facebook from the face value. Hello? I can see, or I can tell, that many of us are just looking at Instagram and Facebook from the face value. I want to encourage us. There is a whole world around that thing that you're saying.
when you see an Instagram post, right, there's the logic behind it, right? Powering it, setting it up is quite very interesting. You understand? I think one of the things you want to organize in the future is maybe digital marketing concepts, right? Because there is a whole lot. And the reason why I'm saying there's a whole lot is that we've been in business for almost 10 years, and we've done more of online marketing. And I know businesses that they don't do anything other than online marketing. As a matter of fact, over the years, progressively, right, traditional marketing is dying, and it's dying fast. And your traditional marketing is your billboard. Yes, and based on our environment where we are, people still get ads on radios, but believe you me, the mileage that you're going to get online, right, is way more than what the traditional marketing. You can imagine a billboard. A billboard is only available at Yaba. It can't go beyond Yaba, true or false. The billboard cannot manifest itself and become omnipresent. No. But online, it can be here in Nigeria. I mean, to the point that Albert made earlier on, you can be here in Nigeria, and people that are in China, people that are in Canada, people that are in other parts of the world, they are seeing what you're doing, right? But interestingly, there is a science to that thing. If that is the only thing you pick up as a skill you acquire, it is relevant. True or false? Guys, true or false? It is relevant. If that is one, you say, okay, based on this my adire that I'm doing, on this my cake that I'm selling, on this my kaftan that I'm making, or whatever it is, let me understand what it takes to set up ads. It's called meta. Let me understand it. And you can't go wrong. And there's so many other things that you can pick up. I'm sure that my colleagues will talk about. There's so many other things. But the point is that we are in an age that you cannot give up learning. The only way to continue to advance, back to the question, is that you have to keep learning. You have to ask someone to show you how do you set it up. Me too, I have to ask one day, okay, what are the parameters? What is the geographical considerations? All of that, right? So learning is a constant. Make learning a constant.
Thank you so much. Very valid point. I'd also like to say that as you upskill, it is important to write skill, right? Are you learning things that would actually help your role or what you want to do, right? It's one thing to say, oh, okay, this adire I'm doing, right? I want to go ahead to learn more about setting up ads and, whatnot. I want to go ahead to learn how to make something else apart from adire. But imagine you are doing adire and the next thing you want to do to further your business is learning how to dance. They don't gel at all, right? Secondly, the best way to learn is by doing. Because if you don't fail, if you don't do, you won't learn better. So failing is the first step. Or rather, let me correct that. Starting is the first step. You start learning, then you do, then you fail and you keep learning. If you've not failed, chances are you are not learning appropriately. So start first. Learn, do, and continue learning. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you so much. I think I will just add a little because they've actually said a lot, right? In your journey of learning, try and understand the fact that there's a place of problem solving. So whatever you're learning, you'll actually be solving a problem. And that's the fastest way to learn. So I've learned this. What problem is it going to solve? And that is how business owners think. Business owners are looking for people who are problem solvers. So even before even before the problem arises, you've already thought about it as a result of the things that you've been able to learn. So I've gone ahead to learn about, probably now I can use ChatGPT, I can use Microsoft Pilot, I can use DeepSeek, I can use everything. What problem am I using it to solve? There are a lot of problems that these things can actually solve. And that is where you come in. Sit down, think critically. What can I use these things to do? How can it benefit both myself and those around me, and also the country at large. You realize the fact that every business today are solving one particular problem or the other, and you can also do that.
Well, I think the panelists here have answered the question, and I wouldn't want us to, overflow it. However, I think I will just wait for the next question so I can.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So the next question is, what is the cause for retention rate and turnover rate in an organization relating to the employees and employers?
The costs.
Yes, what are the costs for retention rates? I mean, why?
The cause for retention rates. Of course, every organization wants to retain their staff, especially if you are hitting the KPIs. If you are delivering, every employer wants to keep you. And what are those costs? Yes, what are the causes? I mean, I've just mentioned it. My business is question, I don't want you to go. I want to keep you. No employer wants irrelevant staff to go. And of course, you have a price to pay also. You don't just sit in the workplace and expect that you'll be there forever and expect that your boss won't do checks. All right? So while you're there, you also have prizes to pay. And that is where the place of continuous learning comes in. You have to keep making yourself visible. You have to keep adding value to the organization. You don't just come in the morning and feel like the Yoruba people would say, Ogata. I mean, it doesn't work that way. You are there to solve a problem. You have been employed to solve a problem, to add a value. There is a gap. And because there is this gap, we need to bring someone in to fill that gap, to create a solution for that problem. And the moment you come in, they are expecting that you do something. But the moment you are not doing anything, they ask you the first month, the second month, the third month of probation, they ask you, are you sure we want to continue with this engagement? So it means even while you're on the job, you have to keep learning, you have to keep adding value. And the more you keep doing that, yes, your employer wants to retain you. They want to keep you. They don't want you to go. If you make yourself valuable to the organization, the day you tell them you are leaving, trust me, they won't allow you go. In fact, my last employment, when I was leaving, a new GM was employed. And when I was leaving, the lady told me, she said, Mr. Albert, if I had my way, if it's because of salary, if I had my way, I would tell the CEO and the COO, let them divide their salary, okay, and add it up and add to my salary so that I won't leave. It was because I was adding value. It was at that point it dawned on me, oh yes, truly, I was actually adding value. But when I said I was leaving, the whole place became cold. And then the woman said, if I had my way, I would tell them, even if they had to share from their salary to add to my own for me to stay back, she would recommend that I stayed back. Because it would take, nobody is indispensable, yes, of course. But then, whoever that will come in to fill that role, I will be stepping out from shoes that it will be difficult for some other persons to easily step into. Because whoever that will be coming into that role will have to do so much more. Because a lot will be expected. And that is what your employers want from you. Adding value to the organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Joshua.
Yes, as an employer level one, the cost for retention, I would say, first and foremost, there's something called the HR guys called total rewards, compensation and benefits, you understand? So we need to ensure that, people, and it's not a salary thing alone. What are the compensation, what are the benefits that an average employer in an organization, right, is entitled to? I told you earlier on that over the last 5 years, we've had 0% attrition meaning people leaving. And so
some of those benefits could be things like medical insurance. Simple as it is. A lot of people don't know that it's not very expensive to have medical insurance for an organization. And now it's even more competitive these days, right? Whereby you have a lot of providers. So HMOs, right? It's not a simple thing. It gives the employer the feeling that, okay, you are also concerned about their well-being. You may not be able to do them, spouse, and 4 children, but at least maybe them and a spouse, right? In this day and age, people are beginning to introduce things like paternity leave. For example, right? I don't want to have to leave my wife alone to bear the brunt of having our baby, right? And we practice that. For example, another thing that comes to mind is training. Do you understand? We are very intentional about building people's capacity. So beyond, we actually have an annual stipend allocated to an employer, and we build it into our budget, right? Every year. It's not a multi-million-dollar organization, but we are diligent enough to ensure that we make sure that those stipends, those learning stipends, and we track as well. So what you see that people are now eager. People actually report on what they've learned. They come back. Another thing that we do very, very, very well is that leave bonuses. Organizations, some people do 13th month. We also try to do that. So I'm just trying to list out some of it. And these things are not tied to just the salary alone. So people want to know that people don't care how much you have. They want to know how much you care. Right, and so an organization primarily is supposed to be a care organization, whereby when that employer looks at how much is being cared for, right, they think about what they stand to lose if they leave, and they're like, no, even if I go to get a higher salary, they are not like to care about me this much. Understand? So those are some of the things that we do. And finally, we also encourage things around people, taking time to invest, right? So we also have what we call stock options. It's not big. They're not very big ticket stock. You can research these things. They're not very big, but a stock option basically is a small amount of ownership that every employer has. And we just place them into band depending on how long they've worked, and they have that part. And they have the right to relinquish those shares within a period of time if they choose to leave. Meaning that you can trade off your own shares if you choose to leave. So essentially, the list is very long, but these are some of the things that we try to practice in all the businesses that I run, right, to just retain employees. And I'm very, very proud to always announce that, we have zero attrition. Apart from cases of somebody wants to go and maybe relocate, Japa, right? And so what we started doing, just to close, is that when I'm interviewing now, I ask, do you plan to Japa? Just so that I
don't think they will give you that one.
No, we ask.
As an employee, they will probably not give you the honesty.
They do. They tell you, 2 years old. I'm looking at 2 years old. You understand? And we know that, okay, and we just need to be honest. Yeah. Because we want to be able to build you into our growth plan as an organization, so that you also become a part owner. Because those are some of the things that we do too.
As regards to that, I know some employees who probably ask, who tell you the truth. Why some are having their mind that, what if I told you that having a JAPA plan within a year, and then your own work culture feels like if you're having a year, 2 years, or 6 months, we probably might not include you in our home plan, that kind of thing. This security is there. And then because he's in an interview, you ask that kind of question.
Yes.
It might not be honest with you entirely.
Funny enough, again, culture, the way everything goes in the conversation and interview, you understand? You as a person who's on the other line, you would have already felt that this is the direction, this is the culture in this house, you understand? And oftentimes, my own experience, 99.9% of the time, they tell us the honest truth. I've seen people that say, maximum 2 years. Do you understand? And we'll shoot our shots to say, okay, maybe we'll go with you or not. Do you understand? And we've had people that say 2 years. My CTO is living in the UK. He's been in there for 4 years. Is he doing his job? He's doing his job. The nature of his job, it doesn't require him to be here. Do you understand? So again, context. A lot of things. So it's a conversation that we can have.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And then
from the aspect of an employer. Yes, so this cost of retention now that we're talking about, I know that there are some times that employees go as far as making themselves, growing themselves personally in terms of maybe ensuring that they are meeting the demands and the needs of the organization. I am so glad that you spoke about the whole lot of things that you have put in place for your employees to enjoy. How do you handle an employer who is difficult to put these things in place for their employees? Because most times you have a very, very good employee that is doing their job, meeting their targets, exceeding their targets, but these basic things that they need to enjoy as an employee, they are not getting it
from the employer.
They are not getting it from the employer,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to convince the employer that these are some of the statutory things
Okay.
that needs to be done.
Put in place.
Yes, put in place. So how do you manage or get the employer to make these things available?
Awesome. Besides running several businesses and owning several, you'll be shocked. You can throw money at people. You can throw big salary at people. Have you seen cases whereby somebody is netting 5 billion a month and every day they are costing that organization? It happens. And the reason is because you cannot replace care with money. So the question to that employer, and again, I don't know what your position to that person, that man or that woman is. Luckily, thank God, I'm not at the mercy of any employer, right? I'm usually able to tell them the very, very hard and cold truth. The organization will die, and it will die in so and so time. I will predict to the person. And you know the reason why? You are operating the typical Nigerian organization. You want to eat your cake and have it. This business will die in 3 years, and I'm assuring you. And
Even when you do that, because I'm an HR
Yes.
manager,
Yes.
so even when you tell them the truth, how these things
then
are,
then you need to at some point walk away.
of course, that is even why
You need to again. I don't know if I mentioned, but I had to at some stage in my career spend about 5 years in HR, right, in a multinational. So I know the shenanigans very well. The truth of the matter is that a lot of our people who think they can eat their cake and have it, you and I know this now. They eventually die now. But wait, should we start mentioning it? No. The organizations will die. And it's only a matter of, see, this organization I'm talking about, let's come back in 2 years' time. 3 things will happen. Their best talents will be poached.
they're all gone.
And so what? So there's no need. You're having pity for this person, madam. You're having pity for this person. All right.
I want to talk from the aspect as HR that cares. No, funny enough, where myself and Mr. Albert met, I met him when I went as HR consultant to his organization. On the first month, I was able to tell the owners of the business that you have the right guy as your HR. I'm not saying because he's there, because I told him that this was my recommendation. I knew my contract was not going to last long in the organization because I knew they had the right person to do the job for them. So why are you bringing in a consultant? So I recommended that, why don't you just move your HR officer to be a manager? Because he had the responsibility. Why give me so much money when you can give the money to the person in-house? So I'm not saying this because even if he's not a good person, he will not be here. If he doesn't know what he's doing, I wouldn't have brought him here today to come and teach us what to do. Like I was telling them when we were having this, putting this together, I said, if there's one thing I love about him is his ability to always fight for his people. There's a part of HR that does inclusion and diversity. It's an aspect in it. Anytime we talk and he says it, I feel it's that, no, this guy knows HR. Because you can't be, now let me use, I'm fighting for you. Like she said, we also met when I went to do consulting in their office, our former office. Employers are also the problems of the organization. They are, like you said, in 2-3 years, some organization will not exist again. So I tell people, if I call you for an interview, before you even go, I'll be the one telling you what to do. I'll tell you, ask for everything in the during the interview. And I'm saying this to you. Ask for everything that you desire. Because the moment you step in, the story changes. I recruited someone for a big transportation company in this Nigeria. When the guy was going in there, he gave us, when he was asking Mark, their budget, this is what I want to earn. I said, they might not be able to pay you, but please ask for other things that are essential for you to enjoy yourself in that organization. Because I know that the moment you come in, the next 2 years, they might not increase salary. Because that's the problem we have with employers. So I'm telling you, as an employee or a job seeker or somebody that is already in the organization, please, when you are going for an interview, be open. When you pass the first stage and they call you for the second stage, it's an opportunity for you to ask or demand that this is what I want. A particular person told me she was resigning from her job. And I said, but my husband is saying that to go back. I said, yes, you have to go back. But when you go back, you renegotiate. Don't just say because they say, oh, yeah, come back. You renegotiate and everything must be written down so that there won't be any change. A big HR people, so that there won't be any change. So when you have opportunities, don't say anything they want. If they ask you how much you want to collect, and you are saying the company has a budget, please, we know we have budgets. But can you please just tell us what you deserve? Do you understand? Some of you deserve better. But because if the company has this budget, if I give you a call first before you come for an interview, I want to know what your budget is. If it's not in line with what we have, I'm going to tell you what you have called is above our budget. I say, okay, I would still like to come around. Let me hear from you. So in coming, you be the one to say, okay, if your budget is 400 and the company said their own is 250, but you know that where you are coming from is 70,000 naira you are earning, but you want to collect 400,000 naira, because those are the problems we have. And at the end of the day, you have lost opportunities because some of you feel it's all about money. There are some things that money cannot buy, like the time they want to give you. Now you collect 400,000, the person is not giving you HMO. The day you fall sick, you are looking for where to run to. Even the health center will reject you because you don't have a card there. But you are earning, I'm not saying endless, because those certifications are not cheap. They are not cheap. But you know, the first thing I also tell people is, how far is from the location of the proximity of the organization to your house? If it's not far, like my company will not collect somebody that is staying at Egbeda. I will not. I will employ somebody that stays at nearby environs because that's where my office is. Even if I will not pay so much, at least my ex-staff is shaking his head because that's how we do. If you are staying at Shomolu, I know from Shomolu to Yaba, you will not spend maybe 800 to come and you are going back another 800. I'm not going to take somebody that is staying at Ikorodu to come and work for me at Yaba, irrespective of the amount I want to pay. So those are the things you have to consider. Don't just consider her. If it's not 1 million, it's not 1 million. They will pay you 1 million, but they will use your blood with your water. Everything will drain out. So is it not better for you to collect 300,000? They are giving you HMO. They will send you on training, and the HMO is covering maybe 4 of your family members. And so those are the things you have to consider before going for that interview, especially when you pass the first level of interview. So it's a cost to you that you have to start now. So